Getting a U.S. visa has never been easy, but in 2025, it could become a real nightmare for some Asian countries. Not just difficult, but almost completely shut down. Imagine this: you've spent months preparing documents, collecting every paper, going through stressful interviews, and then you receive one cold, simple notice: visa denied. Not because of you personally, but because your entire country has been blacklisted with no chance of entering the United States. Sounds like a science fiction plot. Well, it's quickly turning into reality. U.S. immigration policy in 2025 isn't just tightening on individuals, it's targeting entire nations, especially those accused of visa violations, political instability, or tense relations with Washington. So what happens when America closes its doors? Students lose scholarships, families are separated for years, workers miss out on life-changing opportunities, and even a simple dream vacation becomes impossible. This isn't just about visas. It's about the end of countless opportunities. In today's video, we're counting down the 5 Asian countries most at risk of losing U.S. visas entirely in 2025, and more importantly, revealing the real reasons behind these harsh decisions. But before we dive in, I have one question for you. Where are you watching from? Comment your country down below so we can see together that no matter where you are, U.S. visa policies could affect you, your family, or someone you know. 5. Bangladesh. Coming in at number 5 is Bangladesh, a nation of more than 170 million people, growing at a rapid pace with a massive diaspora community in the United States. In fact, hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshis have built their lives in America, from small grocery stores in New York, to curry restaurants in Queens, to engineers working in Silicon Valley. But in 2025, all of those familiar doors may begin to slam shut. Why? There are 2 main reasons. First, visa application fraud. For years, U.S. consulates have reported a high number of Bangladeshi visa applications with fake documents, everything from falsified job contracts and bank statements to counterfeit employment letters. Many applicants have misrepresented their occupations, and some have even purchased entire packages of fake documents to boost their chances. To U.S. authorities, this is no longer just about isolated cases. It's become a systemic issue that undermines trust in the entire nation's applicants. Second, lack of cooperation with deportations. When Bangladeshi nationals are caught living illegally in the U.S. and ordered to be deported, the Bangladeshi government has often delayed or even refused to accept them back. This frustrates Washington because without cooperation from the home country, the U.S. immigration system gets stuck. And under current policy, countries that fail to cooperate are frequently targeted with restrictions or outright visa bans. But what does this mean for ordinary people? This is where it gets heartbreaking. Students. Imagine earning a full scholarship to a top American university. Your bags are packed. Your dream is in sight, only for your visa application to be stamped denied. Not because you lack merit, but simply because your passport bears the Bangladeshi flag. Workers, tens of thousands of skilled workers, nurses and engineers who once looked to the USO for opportunities now face locked doors. Their chance to change their lives and send money home to support their families could vanish. Families. Hundreds of reunification applications are frozen. Parents, children, and spouses who have already spent years apart may be forced to endure even longer separations, all because visas are no longer approved. When politics and immigration rules tighten, it's the ordinary people who pay the heaviest price. In conclusion, unless Bangladesh acts quickly, cracking down on fraudulent documents, enforcing stricter screening, and fully cooperating on deportations, the risk of being placed on America's visa blacklist is extremely high. And once that blacklist becomes reality, the dream of setting foot in the U.S. could vanish overnight for millions of Bangladeshis. No more student flights to Harvard. No more workers sending remittances back home. No more emotional reunions at JFK Airport. Instead, only cold rejection letters and shattered dreams. 4. Myanmar. At number 4 is Myanmar, a country once full of hope for democracy, only to see everything collapse overnight after the 2021 military coup. By 2025, the situation hasn't improved. In fact, it's made the future of U.S. relations darker than ever. Let's look at the bigger picture. The military holds absolute power. Civilian leaders have been detained, and tens of thousands of ordinary people have been forced to flee their homes as violence escalates. International human rights reports are filled with grim statistics, from crackdowns on protests and arbitrary arrests to forced displacement of minority communities. For the United States, this isn't just Myanmar's internal affair. It's a blatant violation of human rights. And that puts Myanmar squarely on the blacklist. The first reason: a disastrous human rights record. The U.S. has a long history of imposing sanctions and visa restrictions on nations accused of serious human rights abuses. Myanmar, with its post-coup violence and repression, has become a textbook example. For Washington, granting visas to Myanmar citizens now would be seen as turning a blind eye to these abuses. The second reason: failure to cooperate on deportations. Many Myanmar nationals have overstayed their visas in the U.S. and were ordered to be deported. But when Washington tries to send them back, Myanmar's military government often delays or flat out refuses to accept them. This has caused major frustration in the U.S. And under American law, countries that fail to cooperate with deportations are often slapped with restrictions or complete visa bans. So what does this mean for ordinary Myanmar citizens? Families torn apart. Imagine you've been waiting years for a family reunification case to be processed. Now all those documents are frozen. That long-awaited reunion at the airport could remain just a distant dream. Students and scholars. Myanmar has many bright students and researchers who dream of studying abroad, joining American universities, or participating in international research. But with the current situation, their chances are close to zero. What was once a slim possibility may now vanish completely. Cultural and economic exchange. Academic partnerships. NGO projects, and even business ventures all suffer. When visas aren't issued, connections to the outside world are cut off. The most painful part is that ordinary citizens who have nothing to do with the decisions of those in power are the ones paying the highest price. Their dreams of education, reunion, or even just a simple visit to loved ones are crushed. In conclusion, for the U.S., tightening or completely blocking visas for Myanmar isn't just about security. It's a way to apply political pressure on the military government to change course. But while politicians move chess pieces on the global stage, millions of Myanmar citizens face a harsh reality. The door to America and to a broader future may close quietly, leaving them locked out. 3. Afghanistan. At number 3 is Afghanistan, a country whose name has almost become synonymous with war and instability for half a century after the U.S. withdrawal and the Taliban's return to power. What was already a bleak outlook has turned into near hopelessness. By 2025, Afghanistan is one of the least internationally recognized states, and that has a direct impact on U.S. visa policy. The first reason: the threat of terrorism and extremism. With the Taliban in control, the U.S. and other Western nations fear that extremist groups will once again use Afghanistan as a safe haven. Even when ordinary citizens apply for visas, they are viewed with suspicion, as though they might have links to terrorist organizations. For Washington, granting visas in this environment feels like opening the door to potential danger. The second reason, unreliable documentation. One of the biggest barriers is the issue of passports and identification. When governments change, civil records fall into chaos. Many birth certificates, IDs, and passports are no longer internationally recognized, or worse, they can be easily forged. For the US, this is a bureaucratic nightmare. If you cannot reliably verify someone's identity, issuing a visa becomes almost impossible. And what are the consequences? Families separated forever. Tens of thousands of Afghans once worked with the US military or international organizations, or they already have relatives in America. Many filed reunification petitions years ago, but now the entire process is frozen. Instead of dreaming of airport reunions, they live in constant fear of retaliation at home. Students and asylum seekers. Imagine you're a talented student who just earned a scholarship to a major US university. But instead of a flight ticket and a new future, you get an email saying your visa case has been suspended indefinitely. The opportunity is gone. The dream of studying abroad disappears before it even begins. Businesses and humanitarian groups. It's not just individuals. NGOs that once brought Afghan staff to the US for training can no longer do so. Companies that hoped to hire Afghan workers must abandon their plans. The result, Afghanistan sinks further into isolation, not only politically, but also economically and intellectually. In conclusion, with terrorism concerns, chaotic paperwork, and a government unrecognized by much of the world, Afghanistan is almost certain to face a total US visa shutdown. Unless there is a seismic change such as a globally recognized government or major international intervention, the door to America is effectively locked for millions of Afghans. For them, each passing day isn't just another lost opportunity. It's another day lived in fear and uncertainty within their own homeland. 2. Iran. At number 2 is Iran, a nation whose relationship with the United States has been tense for more than 4 decades. By 2025, that tension is no longer confined to nuclear talks or political statements. It now directly threatens the future of millions of ordinary Iranians hoping to step foot in America. The first reason, Iran's nuclear program. Washington has long viewed Iran as a potential threat because of its nuclear ambitions. Every failed negotiation, every new missile test chips away at trust. In America's eyes, allowing Iranian citizens entry could mean letting in individuals who might be pressured or exploited by their government for espionage or even terrorism. The second reason, regional ties and armed groups. Iran's close connections with armed organizations across the Middle East, from Lebanon to Yemen, raise further alarms. To Washington, this turns every visa application from Iran into a potential security risk. The lingering question is always, is this applicant really just a student or engineer, or could they become a tool for a hostile state? So what are the consequences for everyday people, students, and scholars? For decades, Iran has produced brilliant students, especially in science, technology, and medicine. But by 2025, thousands of Iranian students applying to study in the US face background checks that drag on for months or even years. Many are accepted to top universities with full scholarships, yet their visa cases are endlessly delayed until the opportunity disappears. The dream of Harvard, MIT, or Stanford evaporates all because of the word Iran stamped on their passport. Families. There is a large Iranian community in America, from Los Angeles to New York. Yet thousands of family reunification petitions are now stuck in limbo. Children grow up without their parents. Grandparents grow old without ever meeting their grandchildren. Time becomes the cruelest enemy and a US visa the unreachable key. Professionals and entrepreneurs. Iranian engineers, doctors, and researchers once contributed to international projects. Now they are barred from attending scientific conferences in the U.S., denied business visas, and prevented from joining tech collaborations. It's not only personal futures being cut off, the global scientific community loses valuable voices as well. Tourism practically non-existent. Young couples dreaming of a holiday in New York or California. Forget it. In conclusion, with nuclear tensions, unresolved controversial regional alliances, and near-frozen diplomacy, Iran is staring at a future of almost certain total U.S. visa shutdown. In this power struggle between two governments, it is ordinary people who become hostages trapped between global aspirations and political walls. For them, America is no longer the land of opportunity. It's just a faraway place on the map, one that an Iranian passport can no longer unlock. 1. Pakistan. And at number 1 on our list is Pakistan, a nation whose relationship with the United States has been as complicated as a marriage that breaks apart and reconciles again and again. Sometimes allies in the war on terror, sometimes adversaries over politics and security. But by 2025, Pakistan faces the highest risk of all, becoming the Asian country most likely to have U.S. visas shut down entirely. The first reason: terrorism concerns. For years, Washington has worried about extremist groups operating within Pakistan's borders. Several high-profile terror incidents linked to networks in the region have kept U.S. authorities on high alert. The fear is simple: granting visas to Pakistani nationals could inadvertently open the door to dangerous elements. The second reason: visa overstays and fraud. Many Pakistani visitors who once entered the U.S. legally overstayed their visas, worked illegally, or submitted false documents to extend their stay. To the U.S., this isn't just a violation of immigration law, it undermines confidence in the integrity of every new application. The third reason: lack of cooperation with deportations. When undocumented Pakistanis are ordered to be deported from the U.S., the process often drags on because Islamabad is slow to take them back. This has fueled Washington's frustration, and under American policy, countries that don't cooperate with deportations are prime candidates for visa restrictions. And what does this mean in real life, students? Pakistan sends tens of thousands of students abroad every year, especially in IT, healthcare, and engineering. But if visas tighten, many of them will lose life-changing opportunities. Scholarships could be wasted, and dreams of education and advancement in America may vanish with a single denial stamp at the consulate. Workers. The U.S. has long been a destination for Pakistani engineers, doctors, and skilled labor. Yet if work visas freeze, these workers won't be hired. They won't be able to send money home. And the impact won't just be personal; entire families depending on remittances will suffer. Families. The large Pakistani diaspora in the U.S. has filed hundreds of thousands of family reunification cases. If those cases stall, spouses separated for years, parents longing to see their children, and grandparents waiting to meet grandchildren, may be left in limbo indefinitely. Every extra day of waiting becomes another weight on their hearts. In conclusion, with terrorism concerns, widespread visa fraud, and a lack of deportation cooperation, Pakistan could well become the #1 country shut out of U.S. visas in 2025. If that happens, it won't just close doors for Pakistanis, it could push the fragile relationship between Washington and Islamabad to the breaking point. And in this global chess game between governments, it's not the politicians who pay the price. It's the ordinary people, students, workers, families who become the pawns, forced to bear the sacrifice. These 5 countries reveal a harsh truth: when politics, security, and immigration get messy, it's the ordinary people who pay the price. Prestigious scholarships, life-changing job opportunities, and long-awaited family reunions. All of it can vanish with a single diplomatic decision signed at a desk thousands of miles away. Behind every statistic, behind every visa ban, are millions of human stories, dreams cut short, doors slammed shut, and people who simply wanted a better future for themselves and their families. So what do you think? Which country will be the first to face a complete U.S. visa ban? Drop the number in the comments below. We want to hear your perspective. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because in our next video, we'll reveal even more countries that will surprise you. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.